Test 1 2 1 2. We're all set. For our national anthem.
Votre command, car ton bras est pour. Oh Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of votre command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on God for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on God for thee.
At this time, I'd like to call on Councillor Hoyle for our land acknowledgement.
Land acknowledgement. Niagara region is situated on the treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations such as Hattawanga, the Hainawashi, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Port Colborne stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the land on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor. There are no proclamations. Item 5 is adoption of the agenda. If I could have Councillors Bodner and Hoyle move the agenda. Any questions or changes? All in favor? That's carried. There are no disclosures of interest that have been given to the clerk's office. Are there any that may not have been put in? Seeing none, thank you. Approve the minutes. The 7.1 regular meeting of Council, February 13th, 2024. If I could have Councillors Danch and Elliott move that. Questions on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Under staff reports and correspondence items, item 8.1, 8.2, and 9.1 have been pulled. Any further items to be pulled? Councillor Bruno and Baggy, if you could move the remaining items. All in favor? Those are carried. Presentations, we have none. Delegations, we have none. Mayor's report. So I got back this afternoon from the Police Association of Ontario Annual Labor Conference in Toronto. This year, the highlight, and which was going on today and will end tomorrow, just after lunch, is the new Police Services Act that'll be coming into play on April the 1st. In attendance was the PAO, the Police Associations of Ontario, the Senior Association of Police Officers, the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards, and the Association of Police Chiefs, and as well as the Province of Ontario, the Ministry of Solicitor General. We're going over the new regs and rules and everything that's going along with it today. There may be some changes that will be made between now and April 1st, but in essence, the new Police Services Act will be is pretty much set. The main thrusts on there are the rules around how chiefs can look after discipline for members, and in there is the one that the Premier he actually campaigned on it, where depending on the severity of, and that's again in the rules, the severity of the charge against a police officer, they can suspend their pay. So that's one thing that they were talking about today. How boards work, and the boards are municipal boards, OPP boards, and our Indigenous Police Force boards, and how the Act will affect them. One thing that's coming forward with regards to boards is board education. Niagara, we are a bit of an anomaly because we do continuous education and seminars with regards to what governance is all about and how we should be operating. But there will be a criteria that we actually have to take, and you won't be able to continue as, in my case, as a representative of the region, along with two other councillors that sit on the board. We do have a public member that's put on the board through the region, and then we have three Ontario government appointed members. We'll all have to take the same criteria for training. There'll be modules, and then you have certain dates to finish those by, and then you can continue on doing what the board can do. But as I say, they were going through those today. This morning we had the Premier speak, Minister Kersner, Solicitor General of Ontario, whose department put this together, the different boards or associations, I should say, that helped formulate the new legislation. They were there, they spoke. Most of them were speaking this morning, and then the latter half, they got into the early stages of what the new legislation is going to be. So I'll keep you updated as that comes out. Next week I'll be visiting Washington, D.C. for Great Lakes Day on Capitol Hill. I serve on the board of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, which is a coalition of 250 mayors from Canada and the United States working to protect the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River. We meet with federal, provincial, and state representatives on both sides of the border whenever there's an issue relating to governance, economics, and science. I do serve as that organization's Ontario Caucus Chair. This past weekend, both arenas at the Valley Centre were back-to-back busy with 60 games played and 24 teams in the Martin Van Gool Memorial Golden Puck Tournament. This was the 58th annual hockey tournament. The Golden Puck Hockey Committee is featured on our Sports Wall of Fame in the Valley Health and Wellness Centre, founded in 1964. The committee coordinated its first tournament with 8 Pee Wee novice all-star teams from across Ontario. Out-of-town players were billeted with Port Colborne families for the 3-day tournament back in those days. And then on Saturday night of the tournament, Golden Puck used to hold an annual dinner dance, normally at the French Hall, for all the parents and volunteers of the tournament. And they used to have a Golden Puck queen that they used to have. Mark, when you remember those days? Golden Puck has a very long history in Port Colborne and is now named for the late Martin Van Gool, who volunteered almost since the beginning. So on behalf of council, I congratulate the winning teams. In the under-9 division, Rosedale defeated Cayuga 4-3 to win the Golden Puck title there. The under-11 champions were West Niagara, a strong team which shut out our Port Colborne team 3-0. And the under-13 division, the Port Colborne Sailors shut out Hespeler Shamrocks 4-0 for that championship. And we congratulate Coach Paul Massotti and his team for excellent leadership. And we thank the Golden Puck Committee for your continued leadership and hospitality shown to guests to our city from across Ontario. Friday, we had a seniors lunch at Breakwall in Port, and there was a Port Colborne team having lunch there. And I also ran into a number of players and parents from the Cayuga team. Lock Pizza was packed all weekend once the word got out through my wife, through one of her nursing buddies who plays on their sons play on Niagara Lake. They said, "Where do we go?" And my wife named a number of restaurants. They ended up going to Lock Pizza, and it was jammed all weekend, and most restaurants were, and there's lots of out-of-town people and hockey players all over the municipality on the weekend, so we congratulate them. And they were, like, the playoffs were Sunday, started late Sunday morning, early afternoon. We had 2 of those games going to overtimes, so it shows you how close the competition was, which is what we want as an organization. We want to make sure that when teams leave, they didn't get blown out every game. That they'll come back next year because they know they'll have a chance, and they know they'll play good quality, equal competition, which is great. Congratulations to the members of the Port Colborne Operatic Society and their best-selling show, Something Rotten, which is in its final run this weekend in Lakeshore Catholic High School Auditorium. The hilarious farce about the world's first musical is set in the time of William Shakespeare. The costumes alone are worth the price of admission. Something Rotten is the 78th production of the Operatic Society, which was founded in 1945. It is the oldest amateur theatre company in Niagara. Every year, the backstage crew and onstage stars just seem to get better. Port Colborne is so fortunate to have the Operatic Society and a community which loves and supports their work. Again, bravo. There are limited tickets at the door for anyone who hasn't attended it yet. The final 3 shows are Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. That ends my mayor's report. Are there any questions? The regional councillor is not here this evening. Are there any regional councillor questions? Okay. Staff remarks. Madam Clerk, anything? Mr. CAO?
Nope, nothing today.
Steve?
Through you, Your Worship, we just wanted to provide a brief update on Lock 8 and Lockview Parks. Council will remember directing staff to conduct a master plan for Lock 8 last year. To date, we've completed designs based on the feedback received from a public survey. We've also circulated the designs to the Main Street BIA and the region, and also internal staff. We're currently awaiting some comments back on the St. Lawrence Seaway, as it is leased land. So we're also, over the next couple of weeks, you'll see a survey being released as well. And that's basically to get a public opinion on 2 of the options that we're proposing as well. So just a heads up that council will see something that will be advertised in the very near future. Once we have that information back from the survey, we'll be presenting it to council through a report. Secondly, on Lockview Park, we just wanted to let council know that the expropriation of the lands has taken place, and just want to thank Mr. Long and his team for that process. Public Works will be bringing a report back to council the second meeting in March to be able to review the full costing of the park build-out, and also provide an implementation plan to make sure that it's built in 2024. So just wanted to give you a precursor to that's coming, and we look forward to it.
Great, thanks, Steve. Mr. Bowles? Nothing? Mr. Long? Okay, anybody else? Chief? Sorry.
Just one, Mr. Mayor, through you to council. Just an FYI, we have been in contact with Suncor, who owns the property at the corner of Fielding and Clarence, the gas station. Right now, they're in the process of tendering out a contractor. They're hoping to have that building gone sometime in May, and once the building's gone, then they'll start the remediation of the tanks and everything else. So right now, it's scheduled for May. Let's hope it's done by September.
Good, thank you, Chief. And no other staff. Councilors' items. Councilor Aquilina, your turn this week.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did attend the Operatic Society play as well, and it was fantastic. So I congratulate them for doing a good job. I only have one item. I met a member of MP Vance Badaway's staff at a function, and that person forwarded me a tax clinic schedule that's going to be starting here in Port Colborne March 13th. We've had it posted onto the Seniors Advisory Committee's Facebook page, but I'm wondering if it's possible to have the city posted on our website as well.
CAO says definitely.
Okay, is there somebody I should send this to, or?
Do you want to send it to Scott?
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Borgard? Councillor Baggett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item. I do apologize to Mr. Long. I didn't give him a heads up on this one, but that's okay. He's pretty smooth. Anyways, one of our items we're lifting up, it's regarding property standards and vacant building registry, where the federal, provincial, regional, and municipal governments are exempt. It got me thinking about the our little Humberston Information Center on Main Street. It's been empty now pretty well pre-COVID, well, during COVID, except for a few vaccinations and that. Do we have any plans for this building for 2024?
Mr. Long?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. I can't, I don't speak for the corporation, but I have been part of some internal conversations. As far as the division that I help to manage, being Economic Development and Tourism Services, we don't have any need for that building in 2024. I can tell the Mayor and Council that staff have prepared a draft report for Council that will be coming forward this spring, where we'd like to present some options to Council as to the future, some future options for the Humberstone Visitor Center.
Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you again. The two guys I did talk to before you pretty all gave me the same answer, so I do apologize I didn't get a hold of you beforehand, but just remembered I had it for 8.1. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bruno?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Mr. Shapowski. Steve, it's interesting you brought up Lockview Park. I was going to, I'm going to talk about Lockview Park, not the other one. Last year, we had quite a debate around the council table with respect to the pavilion at Lock 8 Park. And we were concerned that, you know, it would blow down, it could fall on somebody, all those things. Well, we got out of the busy season when a lot of people would be there, either at the fountain or using the park. And now we're going to be soon sliding into spring. And I know that there's lots happening as to what to do there, and monies in the region and all of that. Are we likely to see that pavilion have to stand until all this is done? Or is there a plan so that it won't be there in the condition it is come the tourist season?
Mr. Shapowski?
Yes, through your worship. So as I mentioned through our staff remarks, there are going to be two options that are going to go out to the public to get their opinion back on which they prefer. One option does include keeping a pavilion into that location. And the second is a revamp of the park as a whole, which would include removing that pavilion. So there is, if there is the option where we're doing more of a rehabilitation rather than a replacement, we would recommend at that point to keep that pavilion in place and do the repairs that are needed to make sure that we can still have it in use for the time being.
Thank you. So if the results of the survey plan comes back and it's to be demolished or a new one set up, will you need to have somebody on standby? Like, is that an easy thing to have a tear down crew come in if that's the wish of the public and staff? Or could it move into the summer? I suspect even if it does, it wouldn't be more than a one-day job anyways, but.
Through you, your worship. So we've actually have staff working at that right now, so we are prepping on for both scenarios. Whether it's a demolition, it's very simple to go in and take that down. If it's a rehab, we are talking to some consultants right now. We actually have quotes in right now to do final assessments on them, so it's just giving them the go-ahead. Based on the timelines and the surveys coming back, we are looking at April to come back to council with a report. So we are kind of getting to that point where the parks are going to get busier in April, as we've seen over the last couple of years, because the weather is nice. So there is going to be a little bit of overlap there, but we're going to do, and we have been doing everything we can to expedite that as well.
Great, thanks. That's all I have.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. I had just one item, and it goes back to our last council meeting on the 13th with regard for the recommendation report for official plan and zoning bylaw. It's not a reconsideration. It's just I have a question about the body of the staff report, and it's not against the staff. It's just something that it says. And in the comments, staff says, and this is going back to side and rear yard reductions. And if you can remember, this building had a parking garage attached to it as part of the plans. And I thought about it after the meeting, and then I just thought about it on the weekend, so I wanted to bring it forward, and I apologize for not talking to staff about it. But it says, the side and rear yard reductions are included as the parking structure is attached to the building, meaning that the setbacks of the apartment apply. The zoning bylaw does not provide for setbacks to parking structures. As a result, the setbacks for the apartment building are used instead. And I would like to know, how do we change that to get parking structures included as part of the building so setbacks apply to the parking structure, parking garage, whatever you want to call it? How do we go about changing that so if this comes to us in the future, we're set up to recognize that the parking structure would be part of the building itself and the setbacks would apply to the parking garage?
CAO?
So through your worship to Councillor Elliott, that's a great question. Unfortunately, the planning staff is not in attendance today, but I'll do my best to answer it. I'll get you clarification at the next meeting. I'll make sure someone from planning is here and maybe we can speak to it after the fact. But I'm going to take a stab at a long answer and a short answer. The short answer is the city can initiate a zoning bylaw amendment. So it would be an amendment to our zoning bylaw, a permanent change to the zoning bylaw. Sometimes zoning bylaw amendments are site specific. So 123 Main Street is being rezoned from commercial to residential or vice versa. But sometimes they are a wholesale change to the provisions in the zoning bylaw and what's permitted in certain zones in terms of land uses as well as setbacks. So it could be done by the city as a zoning bylaw amendment today, right now, at this moment in time. The other option that's available to council is because the region approved their official plan, new regional official plan last year, that triggers a series of events in motion. Every municipal lower tier in Niagara has to redo or revisit their official plan and bring a new official plan forward to council. That is in the works. We are currently doing some consultation work with a consultant. Eventually, we'll award the consultancy maybe to the same consultant or maybe to a different one to do the actual official plan update. After the official plan is updated, the zoning bylaw is also updated on the heels of the official plan, and that is the new zoning bylaw for the city moving forward. And at that time, council can contemplate permanent changes or differences between the old zoning bylaw and the new zoning bylaw. Of course, that's a process that probably, and I'll defer to planning staff's explanation next meeting, probably a year and a half long, including both updates. So if it's a wish of council to get it done sooner through the zoning bylaw amendment process, that could be done through a motion before council. In the agenda, you'll see notices of motion. So normally a council member would make notice that they're going to bring a motion forward at a later meeting. And then you can write a motion or read a motion aloud here, and the clerk's department will help you with that, directing staff to bring forward a staff report with that zoning bylaw amendment in it. There would be a public process, the same as it is for a private property. The public meeting where folks can come out and comment on it, and then it would be brought back to a regular council meeting for approval.
Counselor?
That's all the information that I needed. Sorry to bring that up. I just, when I saw the way that it was written, that it wasn't contemplated, I was thinking, okay, if this brings itself again to council and it's not, it does have the possibility of negatively impacting neighboring residences or other businesses, because parking garages can be noisy. The headlights shine and it's lights and windows and things like that. So I thought, maybe we can get a handle on this before anything like that comes to us again. So I'll wait for a planning staff next meeting.
Great, thank you.
you.
Counselor Danch? No, leave me alone. Counselor Hoyle?
No report.
Counselor Bodnar?
Nope, nothing. Thanks.
Good. You guys all got dates tonight or something? I'll get out of here. Consideration of items requiring separate discussion. Our first one is item 8.1. Is property standards and vacant building registry bylaw. Recommendation that Community Safety and Enforcement Department Report 2024-24 be received. That the property standards bylaw attached as Appendix A be approved. That the vacant building registry bylaw attached as Appendix B be approved. That the bylaw attached as Appendix C, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 6902/50/21. The bylaw to establish a system for administrative penalties for non-parking offenses within the city of Port Colborne, property standards, be approved. And that the bylaw attached as Appendix D, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 6902/50/21. The bylaw to establish a system for administrative penalties for non-parking offenses within the city of Port Colborne, vacant building registry, be approved. And I'll go to questions at this time. Councillor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, bylaw revisions are always difficult to understand. It's very techy, and I give my compliments to bylaw for bringing this forward. Just a few questions for the chief, I guess. So, just for clarification for a resident that may be watching, Shirks and Shores trailers, vacation trailers, and these cottages that are along the lake, they're not included in this, or they are included that somebody has to check them bi-weekly?
Chief?
Through the mayor to the councilor, are you talking within property standards or within the vacant building?
Because the trailer is empty for the season, it's actually empty, right? Is it vacant, considered vacant, or is it considered just empty?
So through the mayor to council, I believe it's in here somewhere. We talk about cottages that close up for an extended period of time. They are not covered within this bylaw.
Okay, thank you. That's why I said it's complicated to read, and anybody watching it on television might have the same question. Another question. There are some buildings at Port Colborne, Main Street, King Street, downtown, that are vacant on the downstairs. It used to be a business, but upstairs there's an apartment that has somebody living in it. So would the downstairs be considered vacant, or does it depend on the square footage of the downtown or the downstairs part?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, I would deem that building as occupied. We have essential services, water, hydro, possibly gas going to those buildings. We would not be shutting those off, therefore they're not vacant.
Okay, thank you. The next question, probably for Mr. Bowles. 2.1.7, it says where an application for rebate of property taxes for the entire building has been submitted to the city's tax section. Is there a limit on, do we still give out the tax rebates on vacant buildings?
Mr. Bowles?
Through the mayor to the councillor, we don't have a rebate system for vacant buildings or land.
Sorry, through your worship to council, to Brian, Mr. Bowles, I think that there's a discounted property tax class for commercial and industrial only, right? Vacant unit? It's not, there's not a 1/3, 70% tax class? There was historically.
Through the mayor to the council and CAO, I stand to be corrected, but that's been being phased out. at the region over a number of years, and I think it was phased out 2 years ago, unless I'm mistaking what we're talking about at this moment. I can circle back to council with that, but I believe it was phased out 2 years ago.
My memory serves me right, you're right. But please circle back to council just to let us know. But that was a class that was phased out.
So 2.1.7 might need to be revised in this, page 3 of this report. So just for clarification, any business downtown that's empty does not receive a discount for property taxes. Am I correct, Mr. Bowles?
Through the mayor to the councillor, I don't have a tax class that I'm aware of, but I am going to circle back with council with respect to that. I believe it was phased out just a couple years ago.
Okay, I really appreciate Mr. Bowles. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Questions over here? Councillor Bruno.
Thank you. Through you to the chief. Chief, just on this, I like the whole spirit of the bylaw. I think it's overdue. I know a lot of hard work went into it. Just on the issue of the owner files an application, and it's good for a year, and he pays his fees, and he fills out the application. And so the bylaw attaches to the owner in the sense that if he sells, the new owner is going to have to know to come in and re-up that vacant bylaw application. Is that correct?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, in the spirit of what we've written, yes, a new owner would have to reapply under their own name and be educated on the requirements.
So the keeping of those records, are they at community enforcement, or are they with building, or are they with tax?
Chief?
Currently the plan, just because of the numbers, we're going to keep it in-house with bylaw. That's the plan right now. I don't foresee it changing in the future.
Okay, I'm not sure if this one's for you or Mr. Bowles or the CAO. Is there a way perhaps that we can ensure that the new owner doesn't become a violator before he even knows there's a rule? And so if something could be done at the tax department, maybe, if it flags everybody that has a vacant building approval for the year, and then the owner sells, and the new person comes in and he's unaware. I don't know if that can be attached to the property. I thought might be the way to do it, but maybe it's simpler just to handle 25 or so in-house.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, I'm sure there's some way that bylaw could work with the tax department to know that there is a sale. There's also the mechanism that the property owner is going to be reporting to us bi-weekly, that they've inspected the property, submitted pictures that the property is secure. The minute we stop receiving those bi-weekly, we're going to know that something's happened, and we will be reaching out to, it could be the past owner, to find out that he has sold it, and at that point we can get a hold of the new one. So I don't believe there's going to be, there might be a small time lapse, but I think there's enough mechanisms within what we're doing here that we'll know within a month that the property's changed hands.
Mr. Bowles?
Just to council, and to reiterate what the chief has said, we can do an annotation within the system, so we can work with bylaw with respect to that. And our tax clerk is watching tonight and was able to reconfirm that, in fact, 2 years ago, the region did phase out the commercial rebates, so that doesn't exist anymore for a property. So we can adjust that within the bylaw.
That's fine, thank you.
Councillor Beauregard?
Yeah, through your worship to the chief. I guess in just the definition of what is considered a vacant building, that's 2.1 of the vacant building registry bylaw. If you go to 2.1.5, it focuses particularly on if the building contains one 2 or 3 dwellings within the building. So I'm just wondering why we focused, like, why is it limited to 3 dwellings within the building? Is there, this sort of provision kind of just jumped out to me, and I'm just wondering if I can get like a little bit of an understanding, the reasoning behind this, if you don't mind.
Chief?
Through the mayor to councillor, I think we're just trying to pick up and capture the vast majority of the buildings that could be affected, and we may have pulled this from our current inventory of vacant buildings. I don't think it excludes any other residential. It might have 4 or 5. A vacant building, I think, is covered within that descriptions.
Okay, so 3, so if you have 3 units in one structure, one building, and when I say unit, has cooking facilities, all of that aspect, sleeping, that particular unit becomes considered vacant, or is the whole building vacant? Because what I'm getting to is, in the property standards bylaw, it refers to this definition of vacant building, and it says like after 90 days, you know, you have to, there will be the removal of services and whatnot for these vacant buildings. So I'm just trying to make sure, like, I don't know, it just seems interesting that that could be the case.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, I believe the spirit of this is it allows us, so the vacant building is the registry bylaw. Within, then it's referenced into the property standards. That property standards actually allows us to do the cleanups or board up buildings itself. So I believe that 2.1.5 gives us the opportunity to put it back into the property standards for a 1 unit, 2 unit, or 3 units that might not be habitable.
Counselor?
Yeah, just a few more questions. Again, with the definition, it says that does not appear to be in use. And based on that, Mr. Celestini, the written material he provided council, that's included in the addendum package, it seems like there could be some difficulty in interpreting that. Would that person going to that property monthly or being there be considered as using it, like appear to be in use? Like, it just seems very vague, and I'm just wondering, how are we going to determine whether or not something's in use?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, I think there's got to be some discussion between the owner and staff to decide that. I don't believe that just because you show up monthly or bi-weekly, which we're asking these people to do, makes it not a vacant building. I know the property that this owner wrote about. I can assure you that it is vacant, and the vast majority of them are. If an owner, I believe I'm a reasonable person, that if an owner can prove that they have actions going on or they're about to renovate because they've leased the building out to a new business, by all means, we will take it off the registry or not ask that it be put on. It's just, we use the word may so that it gives us some flexibility. If it was a shall, then it's a shall. So we're leaving ourselves some ability to negotiate and be reasonable.
Counselor?
Through your worship, the definition of vacant building means a building that does not appear to be in use, and without limiting this definition, shall include a building that, in the opinion of the manager, then goes through all those points I've already said. But again, I appreciate that staff is willing to work with the individuals that are and that's great. It's just a matter that this is a law, and to have that be so kind of up in the air concerns me, and I would like to have that a little bit. I would like to see that ironed out. But is this a definition? Because I know when it comes to bylaws, we typically would use a bylaw that's already in effect somewhere else. Like, is this a standard bylaw? Is it something we just came up with? Can you respond to that?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, we brought the best of what's in the region together and put it within our bylaw. So this has been vetted through legal. I think that's the big thing to understand that Sarah Premi has gone over this extensively to get it to where she believes it's defendable. And at any time, anybody can ask for an appeal of a judgment under a bylaw. At any time, somebody could come to the committee and ask for that appeal. So while, yes, it is a law, there are ways to, if you're aggrieved by it, that this person can challenge it.
Counselor?
Yes, through you. Yeah, they could appeal it, but it's still, the members of that committee have to then do it, like make their decision based on what the law is. Unless you get to the appeal court, then they can have the chance to strike down our legislation, right? If you get to the Ontario Court of Appeal, or sorry, the divisional court is the appeal court in our case. And just onto a couple other items. One, I was kind of frustrated that I didn't really get to see the changes from what we are proposing now from potentially the old bylaw. Not the vacant registry because that's new, but the property standards. Kind of like what the practice with our contracts, we like to see those changes maybe marked in red, or just so that we have an idea of what it is. It just makes it easier to understand what is the difference. So that's one thing that I would have really liked to have seen. I'm not sure if you want to comment on that, but I have a couple other things.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, for the most part, the property standards, the previous version has not changed. We added part 6 or for special provisions, and that takes into heritage buildings, vacant buildings, fire damage, and we upped that game. So there's not a whole lot that has changed other than part 6 in the new property standards bylaw.
Okay. I would like to say that I am very appreciative that staff put in the heritage properties section. That is, I think, very useful. But my other issues regarding the NPAMPS, the non-parking administrative monetary penalty system. Line item 5, like in the chart, if you go down to number 5, there's no penalty shown. Like there's no charge. Number 5, section 6.12, fail to prevent unauthorized entrance to damaged building. There doesn't show to be anything.
Through the mayor to council, we're bad. I apologize for that. And I can get that value, I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume that it's 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000, but we can get that corrected.
Okay. Is that something, does that have to go back to staff, or because if we're going to approve this tonight, how's that going to work?
Madam Clerk?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Steele, to Councillor Borgard. I believe we can make that change. I believe that's just a clerical error. I think we can make that amendment in the bylaw itself.
And one last item. I think this is the most I've ever spoke in one meeting. Mr. Celestini made a comment about the duplication of efforts. If we're putting onus on the owner to do bi-weekly inspections, yet we're doing our own monthly inspections, it does seem to be a little bit of a duplication. Just wondering if, what your comment is, maybe towards Mr. Celestini's point.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, our ultimate goal is to have the property owner responsible for their property and to make sure that it's maintained properly, whether it's grass, garbage, and illegal entry. I would love to see our people not be going by monthly, but we'll have to have that problem solved before we end our monthly inspections. But yes, the ultimate goal is bylaw staff will not be putting their time into their monthly inspections.
Just to be clear then, so they're not always doing monthly inspections, they just can do monthly inspections. Is that what you're saying?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, yep, 100% correct. There are buildings within the city that we go by weekly right now because of the issues, ongoing issues that we're having, and we're working with NRP and the owners around the area to make sure that that's as secure as we can get it, and we're constantly in contact with that owner. But we would love to be able to get rid of that responsibility on our staff. I think there's other things that we can be more productive doing.
Okay. Further questions? Councillor Bruno?
Thank you. Sorry to get around to this in the first time around. Chief, can you help me with something on the whole issue of bylaw Provincial Offences Act versus AMPS? I thought I had an understanding of that. When I look at point 22, it talks about every person who contravenes any provision of this bylaw upon conviction is an offense liable to a fine under the Municipal Act. And then in 24, it says an officer finds that a person has contravened any provisions of this bylaw may issue a penalty notice pursuant to the city's non-parking AMPS bylaw.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, we've left our options open. We can either fine you through AMPS, and ultimately there are going to be times that we will not get compliance. At that point, we could take it to provincial courts by filing a Part 3.
So was AMPS the first, always the first position? Maybe always is a strong word.
Our first position is compliance, and if we don't gain compliance, then we use non-parking AMPS, and if we don't get compliance from there, and heaven forbid, then we'll go down the road of provincial offenses.
Great, and if I could, just one more on that. So will there be like an education piece going out? So you have a handle on how many you think may be vacant out there. So, after tonight, this is can be effective, or with so many days of the bylaw. So is something going to go out to all of these vacant building owners, like a package? And if you have a concern, just call bylaw, because otherwise they'll probably be calling one of us. And the back to that is, do you want it for not to customer service, but just right back to bylaw, because they're the enforcer? If you can help us out with how that circle can be squared.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, we have a very good inventory on what we have for vacant buildings within the city. Geez, I forget the question now.
Is it going to be like an education?
Thank you. Thank you. So we've already sent out letters to all the building owners of a vacant to give them a heads up that this bylaw was coming forward. That's how comes you've received emails from, I believe, several property owners giving them the heads up. And if this is passed tonight, we will communicate further with these owners for that compliance piece.
And if I could then, so if it's an AMPS situation, the person's ability, as was stated earlier, to appeal their concern, does that come back here, where a owner can come to council and ask about that, like a parking issue with snow and that? Or does it just stay in the queue and become a provincial conviction under the Municipal Act? So where would that objection or appeal go?
The first would just be negotiations with staff. If we put an order, they can talk to us. We have that ability to do that. I believe if they wanted to, if they didn't get the remedy that they wanted, they would take it back to the Property Standards Committee, which is built of council, for that hearing.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Baggy?
Thank you, Mayor. One more thing through you to the chief. I see 3 of our professional firefighters here this evening, and yourself. My question is, when there's a fire call at one of these vacant buildings, are they aware of it on their way to the fire, or they do an on-site analysis to figure out whether it's a vacant building or not?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, the firefighters do have that shared document. When we respond to any property, we do not assume that it's a vacant property. if it's on fire, there's going to have to be an assessment whether they're going to do, if the building is beyond a search and rescue, but we never assume that a building is vacant just because it's boarded up. So if there's the possibility of a search, they will complete a search, much like a single-family home. If it's beyond their entry capabilities, then we go defensive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, I'm good.
Good. Further questions? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the chief. This will be really quick. Time frame Schedule A bylaw, and it is the, which one? Lot maintenance. And it says, time frame to, for work to be completed.
That's the next item. We're not there yet.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
So you're done then. That was quick.
Till next time. It'll be even faster next time.
Good, thanks. All right, any further questions? Okay, if I could have Councillors Bagu and Beauregard move the recommendation that was read. Again, comments or questions? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 8.2 is the lot maintenance bylaw. Councillor Elliott, recommendation that Community Safety and Enforcement Department Report 2024-28 be received. That the lot maintenance bylaw attached as Appendix A be approved. That the bylaw attached as Appendix B being a bylaw to amend bylaw 6902/50/21. The bylaw to establish a system of administrative penalties for non-parking offenses within the city of Port Colborne be approved. I have Councillors Bruno, Bagu, and Elliott that want to speak to this so far. Councillor Bruno.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the chief. Chief, I just have one concern. I just have one concern on under discussion, the bullet 3. The current bylaw states that unlicensed vehicles are those without a valid license plate sticker. The proposed bylaw removes the requirement that because of the change to provincial legislation, which no longer requires vehicle owners to update their license plate sticker. So, is this problematic in the sense that we see obviously car that's either off its wheels or rusted out, or a pickup truck or trailer, and it's in someone's front lawn and it's on an improved surface? How are you able to deal with that problem? Does this eliminate your ability to do that?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, it doesn't cause us any issues. We just wanted to take it out of the bylaw. Just I think it's more of a housekeeping issue than it was anything else. You have flat tires, no license plate. It doesn't run. It's derelict.
Great, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bagu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just a few questions. The more and more people in Port Colborne are using those tent canopies they use for boat or car storage. Some have one, some have two in their properties. So I guess by reading this bylaw, I guess it only depends on what's inside of these things. That's on your property standards, or is having two of these tents on your property still okay?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, I believe how we would handle it is what's under the tents is what we're actually worried about. We talk within the bylaw, I'll just use it as an example of indoor storage being outdoors. So if we found the sofa, the couch, those kind of items that we know vermin are drawn to and breed, and then we have problems in the neighborhood, that's what we're more concerned about than the tent itself. Once the tent's ripped and everything else, we can pretty much say that it's an easy argument for us to document and then say that has to be removed.
Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also through you, just for clarification for residents watching TV, and I guess the question to the chief, property standards is only by complaint driven from a resident or whoever. Am I correct?
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, we have been trying to do a little bit more proactive inspections for the property standards. Frankly, our proactive is more of what we can see from the road, which falls under the lot maintenance, and that keeps us busy come summertime between boat ramp ticketing, long grass, and everything else. For the most part, we're focused on the outside of the building. We do want to get a little bit more proactive. There's properties on West Side Road that we've been proactive with, and we're getting there, and we're working towards that. But the property standards issues that we do come across take an excessively long time to deal with. It's not a go cut your grass or bring a dumpster in and throw that stuff out. So if you have a complaint, send it to us.
Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one more statement, Mr. Mayor, and for the people watching, it's very, very easy to file a request of service to bylaw. You just go on the city's website, and top right-hand corner is this little thing that says request of service, and you just follow it along, and it's so easy for the resident to do it. Like, I don't mind getting called to do one for residents, but they can do their own also and deal with bylaw that way. If they want to request a phone call, they can request a phone call in their letters of bylaw, Mr. Mayor. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm good.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Elliott?
I'm still excited about the little things, so thanks, Mayor. Through you to Chief. And this sounds like it's a little issue, but I'm just afraid of it. Time frame for work to be completed. Remove refuse. Both of those time frames for work are 7. Now, if you go back to the way that notice is sent to them, sometimes the notice, you get 5 days from that, so that turns into 12 days to remediate. Open household garbage sitting on somebody's yard for 12 days in the middle of the summer is an awful long time. And you could have animals and everything coming along. So is that something, if we get a complaint about that, we take special attention to because of what it may attract? Because down on the next list down below, it says if you're a repeat offender, that gets reduced to 3 days to remediate. So it's cut in less than half. It just seems that the 7 days to remove those 2 items from your yard could turn into trouble.
Chief?
Through the mayor to council, while that person is in contravention of a bylaw, they still have rights. So they have the right to appeal any verdict. So those timelines, I'm going to speak of a fire code violation, but you could have a life safety violation, but that person still has 14 days to appeal to the fire marshal's safety commission, and then at that time that order stayed also. So while I understand the 7 days seems like a lot, which excludes the delivery time, we have to follow a line, and we're not going to cross that. We still have to give them their rights to appeal.
Thanks, Counselor. Further questions? Okay, recommendation is up on the screen now, guys. If I could have Councilors Bruno and Bagu move 8.2, the lot maintenance bylaw. Seeing nothing further, all in favor? Well, that's carried. Thank you. Now we're on to correspondence, item 9.1. Sorry? Oh, item 9.1 is the Town of Lincoln Council resolution requesting funding to ensure compliance with accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities, the AODA. I have Councillor Bodner wants to bring this up. Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council knows, we're on a joint accessibility advisory committee with the Town of Lincoln, Township of West Lincoln, Town of Pelham, City of Thorold, Town of Niagara-on-the-Lake, Town of Grimsby, and of course, the city of Port Colborne. I just wanted to highlight this and ask that we support this rather than just receive it. And if we just, I'll just read something that I think kind of sums it up. This resolution emphasizes the importance of fostering an inclusive environment and ensuring that businesses have the necessary resources to comply with the AODA to contribute to a more accessible Ontario for all. So they're asking for some government assistance for businesses in order for them to put in the necessary or whatever is necessary to make it easy for people with disabilities to get in and out of their businesses. So I'd just like us to support this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Acklin, will you second that? Great, perfect. And Madam Clerk, if once this is accepted by council, if we could send a letter to the Premier, as stated in Lincoln's letter, and also our 4 MPPs in Niagara, letting them know, and also obviously Lincoln, letting them know that we are actually supporting this, just so that they know that. Is that all right? Okay, you're all right with that, Councillor? Questions? Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Council. Are there any motion, or there are no motions this evening? Are there any notices of motion this evening? We have no minutes of boards. Bylaws, we have bylaws 20.1 through to 20.9. If I could have Councillors Hoyle and Danch move those. Are there any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Wow, you guys are quick tonight. All right, appreciate everybody coming tonight. Those watching on TV, great questions, great debate on everything. At this time, this meeting is adjourned.